So every shot you hit with this driver sounds like a gut punch to the golf ball. So it sounds like a gut punch to the golf ball. That's what PXG are saying on their website with this new 0811 XT driver. So excited to sort of test this. We're going to obviously review it as always. My personal feedback on the club. We've got some adjustability on the weights, neck sleeve, and we'll see how this driver performs. So make sure you keep watching this video to the end because there's some positives we're going to talk about with this driver. But for me, there's a couple of negatives as well, which we'll discuss later in that video. So stay tuned. Okay, so this Gen 4 0811 has three actual models in this particular version. So we've got the XT, which is I have in my hands, which we're going to do this video on. That stands for Extreme Tour, so very much a tour inspired sort of shape there. We've then got the just the X version, which is more of a low spin head, and then an XF, which is Extreme Forgiveness, so obviously providing a little bit more forgiveness on those shots. But as I say, I've got the XT. That's one we're going to really focus on today. First things to really talk about is adjustability on the sole. So we've got three screws, one at the front, one at the back, and one in the heel. So we can make this sort of low spin, a little bit more high spin or high launch as well as draw bias. So moving these weights around. I've got a 10 gram and two 2-gram weights. So at the moment I've got the 10 gram sat in the middle at the front. So obviously putting it slightly low spin option, but we've got adjustability to work that around. Also got a neck sleeve adjustabilities as well. So this is a 7.5 head. I've got actually in my hands, but I have lofted this up to 9 degree, which is a bit more around my sort of loft. So first instincts behind the ball, it's a little bit different. I really like the look of this. I just think the colourways, that real black matte against that sort of silvery sort of weave effect on the top, I just think looks really cool, to be fair. It's a little bit different. It's probably one of those you'll either like or you won't like. I really like the look of that. Oh, that's a great strike to start off with. That's flown out there. Needs to be in the air a long time. Touched up the right hand side, might catch that. Don't flown that bunker. Wow, that seems to be a good hit. So 285 carry, 307 total, 165 ball spin, 2,600. Nice start. So I'm testing myself today. I've got a little bit, quite a tight fairway to be honest here on TrackMan, but it's all good to test yourself. So straight away out the blocks there, that felt really solid. It's a very good sound for me personally. Obviously sounds very much a personal thing, quite sort of muted without being sort of too dead as a feel. Obviously we know that sound tends to sort of relate to a bit of feel as well. Does look great behind the ball. Love the look of that. I like the sort of shape of the head as well. It is very sort of like a pear shaped. That's a good strike, good flight as well on there. Just working up the left, a little bit reaction to that first one I've just hit. Yeah, it's just missing that on that left edge there, but again, very similar ball speed, a little bit lower spin, just turn that ball a little bit more right to left. But again, great carry, good distance. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about what's happening in the club and the technology. So we've got quite a shallow face in this XT model with more of a parallel crown and sole. So as you sort of see the club come away, they're quite parallel. Sometimes some slope off much more aggressively than others. That's all to sort of help with a little bit of, again, transferring energy and putting it back into ball speed through the actual strike itself. So as well as that shallower face, actually from the heel to toes a little bit smaller. So just helping to reduce a little bit of drag, again, increasing sort of speed and that ball speed off the face. Oh, that's an absolute cracker. That is right down there. Super flight on that. That seems long as well. Again, 165, 283, 305. Really good numbers. Quite like that launch there. So that 9 degrees what working in. And the thing with that is, as I've adjusted that, obviously this is a 7.5 degree head and I've lofted that up. Now, typically when you loft up, you tend to sort of see a lot of club faces close down. You don't really see that. That sits in my eye, and I'm very fussy with this. I don't like anything that's sort of closed. It sits really, really square. So moving that loft up and down hasn't actually changed the face angle. There's obviously some upright settings in that neck sleeve as well as changing loft. So you can, you know, if you want to try and maybe take that right miss out, you can probably do that by making it a little bit more upright. And then on top of that, you could put that heavier weight in the heel to try and maybe miss that right shot a little bit as well. So obviously the big visual with this driver is that silver top bit, and that's basically carbon in there. So we've got the titanium in the heel and the toe. The carbon is that silver section. So obviously reducing weight, they reposition that weight sort of lower and deeper. It's all about optimizing sort of MOI, you know, the center of gravity, increasing that MOI, making, you know, providing some forgiveness there as well as, you know, controlling spin off the face. Ooh, right, that's a little bit of a high toe. That's absolutely arrowed though. That's probably just testing a little bit of that forgiveness. That didn't feel great on the strike, but you can see that that ball speed's just dropped a tiny bit there. You know, maybe just that slight missing. I think I got a little bit more toe than maybe what TrackMan's just showing there, to be honest. It felt like it anyway. but results great. Take that all day long, wouldn't you, as I miss it. So internal in the head, we've got a honeycomb TPE insert, which just sort of sits in the bottom of the driver towards the back, which is helping to deaden a little bit of vibration, a little bit of sound waves inside the head, which I think helps to give it that, you know, with that carbon mix, that really good acoustic sort of sound. I think it's, you know, it's as I say, it's a very solid sounding. It feels explosive without it being tinny or the other extreme of being too sort of dead feeling. Sometimes with certain drivers with the carbon, they feel very dead, don't they? You know, they perform really well, but the feel is dead. And sometimes golfers say to me, God, it just feels like I'm not getting anything out of it. Again, it's the sound and the feel, very much linked, aren't they? But as I say, I'm a big fan of how that sits, just that little lipstick on that outside and that inside, small PXG logo, the X just as an alignment aid, and then the black face with the sort of white little circle emblem there, just helps you to sort of frame the ball in that address. Oh, just feels like it flies off that club face. That looks hot, it's really hot. Just up that left-hand side, a fraction there, but 167 ball, lower spin. That's coming a little bit flatter. So maybe not quite as much carry there, just dropped back a tiny bit because of the sort of spin was a little bit low on that one. But obviously really running out there, 314. So it really looks like, you know, with this, for me personally, that 9 degree, that heavyweight forward is just getting my spin in the right area. And this is where, you know, I think for me as a fitter and other fitters, you can really sort of dial this into the players and sort of delivery and their sort of spin characteristics in a way, you know, heavyweight further back would typically increase a little bit of launch, increase a little bit of spin. Obviously heavyweight in the heel would create a little bit more of that, maybe draw biased, or less of that sort of right miss in a way. So there's a lot of tuning in you can do with this driver, which is always a good thing. Oh, that's a good strike. It's a really good strike. Yeah, that's right out there. Really enjoyed hitting that, to be honest. I really like the look of that. Sat down by that golf ball, the sound of it, the feel of it's good. The flight is nice there. I really dialed that in with that weight position. Gets my spin in a good area. Seems to be sort of maximising my sort of performance there. So we're going to check a few numbers out and see how that's performing. And just after we've done that, we're going to talk a little bit about the price of this driver, because there's some positives, but for me there's a couple of negatives in there as well, which we'll discuss. So we can see club head speed there at 113 on average, and ball speed around that sort of 165 on average. Just obviously my subtleties of the strikes, just changing those numbers there, but pretty consistent, to be honest, as I've just changed a couple of those strikes around that club face, launching around that sort of 11.7, which is pretty good for me. So that 9 degrees in a good sort of area, and spin controlled on an average at 2256. So obviously we've got that weight forward there. We can move that weight back, maybe increase that bit of spin if you needed to. And obviously we've got that draw help a little bit as well. So 282 carry, 311. It's good, isn't it? It's performing well, as we'd expect, really. Descent angle there, 34 degrees, which is a nice sort of angle to come in. So expect that to have a little bit of release on that ball as it lands. Obviously summertime we can get a little bit more out of that. 93 on its peak height as an average, and smash at 146. Okay, appreciate you watching the video. There'll be another video up there you can go and check out and enjoy, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.